Riven's secret isn't how to beat the witness. It's worse than that. It's the kind of secret you only learn after you've already pulled the trigger, after the wish has already been granted, after the trap has already snapped shut, and after you realize the monster you killed may have been the lock on a door you never even saw. Because the witness doesn't just invade worlds, it finishes them on a cosmic scale, with contempt, with the certainty of something that believes the universe itself is an error that needs correcting. And if you're going to imprison something like that, something that speaks like endings are inevitable, you don't do it with a gun or a fleet or even a miracle. You do it with rules, with language, with the kind of reality-binding logic that can take desire and turn it into a cage. And in the Dreaming City, we've already seen what that kind of cage looks like. The Dreaming City wasn't just another battlefield. It was an awoken sanctuary, beautiful, hidden, and full of old knowledge, until it was cursed by a taken wish into an endless cycle of conflict. That curse is the part everyone remembers as a grind, a loop, a weekly reset. But lore-wise, it's proof of something terrifying. Reality can be rewritten and then forced to repeat, like a song you can't stop hearing, no matter how hard you cover your ears. And the name sitting at the center of that loop is Riven. Before we go any farther, plant this in your head. The Dreaming City curse wasn't random chaos. It wasn't, oops, magic happened. It was the consequence of a wish. Something granted, something paid, something engineered. And if a wish can chain an entire city to a 3-week time loop, then we're not talking about dragon tricks. We're talking about a system that can bind cause and effect. That's the first clue, the first real payoff. Riven's power, Ahamkara power, isn't just destruction, it's structure. And if you're listening closely, structure is exactly what the witness believes it's entitled to impose on everything. Here's the road we're walking. First, how Riven got embedded in the Awoken's most sacred place. Second, what the Dreaming City curse proves about wish magic. And third, why that proof points to a much bigger possibility, one that could threaten even the witness. If you like deep, receipt-driven lore stories like this, hit like and subscribe. It helps a lot, genuinely. And tell me what other games or series you want lore videos on next, because I'm building a list. Now, back to the city. Long before the curse, the Awoken were already playing a different game than everyone else. Their realm in the Reef was ruled by Mara Sov, and the Dreaming City was the hidden jewel, part sanctuary, part vault, part myth made real. But it didn't come out of nowhere. It was made, shaped, protected, built around secrets. And in the age when Guardians decided Ahamkara were too dangerous to exist, that mattered. There was a time when the Vanguard ordered an extinction campaign, the Great Ahamkara Hunt, because wish dragons and free power don't stay clean for long. The record we have is blunt. The Vanguard moved to wipe them out, to prevent disaster. And only one dragon, Riven, went into hiding. Only one. So if you ever wondered why Riven feels so singular, why her story touches everything from the Awoken to the Taken to Savathun's long con, that's why. She isn't one Ahamkara among many. She's the last known one that didn't get erased. And Mara Sov's Dreaming City, of all places, is exactly where the last one ends up mattering the most. The city becomes a sanctuary. And then, later, it becomes a prison. And then, worst of all, it becomes a demonstration. Because when Forsaken hits, the Reef's order collapses into violence. Casas 6 dies. Aldrin Sov is manipulated. The Guardian is drawn into a chase that feels personal. Revenge, justice, fury. But the Dreaming City reveal is the twist that reframes the whole season of Blood. You go in hunting answers, and what you find is a place that's been engineered to hold more than beauty. A hidden Awoken sanctuary filled with ancient knowledge and cursed by a taken wish into an endless cycle of conflict. Let that phrase land. Taken wish. Not taken corruption, not hive ritual, a wish, weaponized, and Riven is identified as the raid boss tied to that curse. That detail is the hinge, because it tells you the curse isn't just a darkness infection, it's wish logic fused to taken power, like a knot tying two cosmic systems together. If you've ever looked at Destiny's Cosmic War like it's just light versus dark, this is one of the moments that says it's also rules versus loopholes, it's contracts, it's bargains, it's the fine print. And the Dreaming City is drowning in fine print. Here's what we know for sure so far. Riven survives the hunt, Riven becomes the key figure of a city-sized curse, and that curse loops reality like a trap snapping shut again and again. Now, we ask the dangerous question, what kind of power does that imply? Because a loop is not just damage, a loop is a constraint. A loop says, you can struggle, you can fight, you can scream, but you will return to the same shape. That's prison language, and the witness is obsessed with prisons, only it dresses them up as the correct ending. When the witness finally speaks with full clarity in later story beats, it's not the voice of a rival, it's the voice of a judge. All that you have done means nothing to me, it declares, pure contempt. It's not just threatening to win, it's threatening to erase the meaning of everything you've tried. That's why imprison the witness sounds impossible at first. How do you imprison a thing that thinks it owns the concept of an ending? You don't do it by overpowering it. You do it by binding it to a rule it can't step outside. And Ahamkara wishes have always been about binding reality to desire. One of the high-leverage truths the law keeps circling is that an Ahamkara's last wish can fundamentally alter fate. That's not a small claim. Fate is the thing warriors and gods argue about when they run out of ammunition. Fate is what the Vex simulate and still can't fully control when paracausal power is involved. Fate is the invisible board everyone's moving pieces on. So if Ahamkara power can touch fate, then it's touching the same layer of reality where the witness operates. And now, the Dreaming City curse stops being a location story and becomes a proof of concept, a living, repeating, undeniable example that fate can be trapped into a pattern. Orientation recap. We're 3 steps in. Riven survives extinction, the Dreaming City becomes her stage, and the curse demonstrates reality locked into repetition by wish magic. Now comes the part that changes how you read Riven. Because if you only remember her as a villain, you miss the real horror. Villains don't build cages this elegant unless they're either protecting something or being used to protect something, and the law keeps tapping you on the shoulder with that uncomfortable idea, especially once you put Savathûn in the room. In the research voice lines, Savathûn's presence curls around Riven like a mask. After the Guardian kills Riven, Savathûn taunts, "You have already lost." And wearing Riven's voice, she hisses, "The light is not what you think." That's not just trash talk. That's the sound of someone who thinks the killing blow is the setup, not the finish. And it's consistent with the Dreaming City's whole theme. You act, you win, you complete the objective, and then the consequences you didn't see arrive on schedule. That's what makes a wish dangerous. It doesn't need to defeat you in a straight fight. It just needs you to say yes. So where does that leave Riven's secret? Here's what we can responsibly say without making anything up. The lore framing we have explicitly positions Riven as more than a raid boss. She is tied to a taken wish curse that locks a city into an endless cycle. And the broader high-leverage framing of the universe emphasizes that Ahamkara wishes can alter fate itself. That combination, fate-altering wish power plus a demonstrated prison loop, is exactly why a secret that could imprison the witness becomes plausible as a narrative claim. Not because we've seen a literal cell door slam on the witness already, but because we've seen the technology of imprisonment at work. Reality bound to repetition, by a wish, in a way that outlasts battles and heroes. And that brings us to the emotional gut of part 1. What if the biggest mistake Guardians made in the Dreaming City wasn't failing to kill Riven sooner, but killing her at all? Because if Savathûn's taunt is true, if the kill is the trigger, then you have to consider the possibility that Riven was never meant to win. She was meant to grant, she was meant to convert your victory into a mechanism. A wish doesn't care whether you feel righteous. A wish cares whether you complete the conditions. The Dreaming City curse isn't just a tragedy, it's evidence. Evidence that desire can be weaponized into a repeating prison. So here's the mini-arc we're closing in. The witness represents the universe's final enforced shape, an ending imposed on everyone else. Riven represents the opposite kind of tyranny, an ending you ask for without understanding the cost. And in the Dreaming City, those two philosophies touch. Darkness power entwined with wish logic, creating a loop that proves something you can't unsee once you notice it. You can trap reality. Not forever, maybe. Not perfectly, but long enough to matter. Long enough to keep a city suffering in place while the rest of the system moves on. Long enough to make you wonder what that same logic could do if it were aimed at something larger than a city. Something like the witness. The Dreaming City looks like a paradise until you notice the seams. Not cracks in the stone, cracks in time. A place can be beautiful and still be a trap. And the Awoken always built traps that smiled while they held you, because the Dreaming City wasn't just a refuge. It was a statement. Queen Mara Sov carved out a hidden realm as a sanctuary for her people. and she did it with the help of the last known Ahamkara, the last wish dragon anyone could find after the Great Hunt. The one that didn't end up as a trophy, a cautionary tale, or a warning etched into tower rumor. Riven, and that's where the uncomfortable thought begins. If your city was shaped with wish magic, then your city can be rewritten with wish magic. The same power that built the door can decide who gets to lock it. So when Guardians finally reach that shining, awoken stronghold after the reef collapses into violence, after the prison break, after Cade's death, after the chase that drags everyone into darker corners, it isn't a victory lap. It's a step onto a stage where the rules aren't ours. You feel it almost immediately. The city isn't just under attack, it's under revision. A taken wish sits in the foundations like a buried engine, and once it starts running, the dreaming city becomes a calendar that can't flip forward. A 3-week loop, clean, cruel, and precise. Week after week, the same cycle of conflict, the same creeping sense that you're not fighting an army so much as you're fighting a script. That's the first thing you need to understand about imprisoning something like the Witness. You don't beat a god of endings by punching harder. You beat it by changing the shape of reality around it. You beat it by building a place where the future can't arrive. And that's exactly what the Dreaming City proves is possible. Each week, Guardians push deeper into the loop, taken forces surge, awoken secrets surface. The city resets like a wound that refuses to scar over. It's exhausting in a way normal war isn't, because normal war at least moves the story forward. This doesn't. This is being held in place. But there's a difference between a prison and a tomb. A prison is meant to keep something alive inside it. And the Dreaming City is very, very alive. If you're listening closely, it's also telling you who put the lock on the cage. Uldren Sov's obsession wasn't random. Records from within the Dreaming City speak of a desperate bargain, one that tied his fixation to freeing the city from its 3-week curse. And it wasn't just an awoken family tragedy. It was part of a plan struck in the shadow of Savathûn. That's not a side detail. That's the shape of the weapon. Because once Savathûn is involved, nothing is ever only what it looks like. Not a death, not a rescue, not a victory, not even a wish. So imagine the board from above. Mara Sov has a hidden realm made with wish magic. Savathûn is the god of schemes and misdirection. Uldren is the lever, emotional, loyal, desperate enough to pull until something breaks. And Guardians are the perfect hands to carry out the brutal parts no one else wants to do. You can feel where this is going. The loop isn't just punishment, it's pressure. A vice tightening around the Dreaming City until someone, anyone, makes the right move. And at the center of it all is Riven, the wish dragon, the original miracle that built the place, and the perfect mechanism to corrupt it. Here's what makes Ahamkara power terrifying. It doesn't need consent the way you think it does. You can hunt the dragon, you can corner it, you can kill it. But the wish doesn't die just because the body does. If anything, the moment you win might be the moment the wish gets paid. That's why the loop doesn't read like a random curse. It reads like an engineered container, a repeating pattern, an elegant little box that says, whatever happens, happens again. And then, after enough weeks, enough pushes into the same halls, enough victories that don't stay victories, you finally force the moment that matters. The raid, the confrontation, the end of the loop's visible machinery. Riven is the boss at the heart of it, the last wish made flesh, and according to the timeline preserved in these records, after the raid is completed, the Dreaming City is freed from its curse and restored. That line, freed and restored, matters more than it seems. Because it means the loop wasn't just a doom, it was a system with an exit condition, a lock with a key, a prison that can be opened if you know the right sequence. And that is the real secret people miss. Not that wish magic can trap reality, we already saw it. The secret is that wish magic can trap reality in a way that still allows a controlled release. A cage you can open, a cycle you can end, a repeating prison that can be dismantled by design, not by accident. Now, place that idea next to the Witness. When the Witness finally speaks, it doesn't sound like a conqueror boasting. It sounds like something that's already done the math on you. All that you have done means nothing to me. And when the moment turns cosmic and mythic, the message hardens into something worse. Everything ends and it begins again. That's not just intimidation. That's a worldview, a statement of inevitability. So if you want to imprison the witness, you need the one kind of power that can answer inevitability with a mechanism, a system, a loop, a rewrite of endings into repeats. That's why the Dreaming City keeps showing up around the edges of bigger prophecies, why its raid lore and its strange weapons are treated like connective tissue between the present war and the ancient thing steering it. It's not because it's pretty, it's because it's proof that reality can be handled. But the story gets sharper, almost cruel, when you follow the consequences of killing the dragon. In Savathûn's throne world, when the Guardian kills Riven, Savathûn doesn't react like someone who lost a piece. She reacts like someone who just watched you pull the pin for her. You have already lost. And then, as Riven, the voice turns and cuts straight into belief itself. The light is not what you think. It's an awful moment because it reframes the entire idea of heroic action. You went in to slay something corrupted, to remove a threat, to end a curse, and the response isn't fear, it's triumph. You can hear the shape of Savathûn's lesson in that taunt. You don't understand what you're doing. That's why you're useful. Later, she twists the blade further, claiming she gave you power and can take it back, revealing how thoroughly she's willing to warp what the Traveler means just to win. Now zoom out and ask the uncomfortable question, what if Riven wasn't only a monster to be killed? What if Riven was a tool, a wish engine that different hands kept trying to steer? Mara used that power to build a sanctuary. Savathûn used that power to build a trap. And the Guardian, by doing what Guardians always do, became the one force willing to activate the final step without fully seeing who benefits. That's not a condemnation. It's the tragedy of being the sword instead of the strategist. A sword can be righteous and still be pointed. And it tells you why a secret that could imprison the witness would never be clean. If a wish can bind a city into repetition, then a stronger wish, crafted with the right conditions, paid for with the right cost, might be able to bind something even bigger. Not by overpowering it, by surrounding it with a rule it cannot easily break. But here's the catch, and it's the reason this idea has teeth. The Dreaming City's loop didn't just imprison enemies, it imprisoned everyone. It turned allies into prisoners of context. It made heroism feel like running on glass. So the real question isn't, can it be done? It's what would it do to the world that builds it? Because every time you see wish magic at work, you see the same pattern. The bargain is never free, and the outcome never belongs to only one person. The city was a refuge, and it became a cage. The loop was a curse, and it was also a mechanism. Killing the dragon felt like victory, and it still made room for Savathûn to laugh. That's the lesson you carry into the Witness's shadow? The Witness speaks like the universe is a closed book. Endings, cycles, inevitability, and contempt. But the Dreaming City suggests the book can be edited if you're willing to write with the kind of ink that stains everything it touches. And if you're wondering why this matters now, why the Dreaming City and Riven keep echoing whenever people talk about the end of the Light-Dark War, it's because the Witness doesn't fear your guns. It doesn't even fear your bravery. It fears the one thing that can change an ending into a condition, a rule, a loop. A prison that pretends to be a paradise. And somewhere inside the history of that wish dragon, inside the way the city was built, cursed, and restored, there's a blueprint for what a cosmic cage could look like. Not a cage made of metal, a cage made of story. Because if everything ends and it begins again, then the most dangerous move you can make is to decide what again means, and who gets to leave when the cycle finally breaks. You kill the dragon. You survive the raid. You walk out of the heart of the curse with smoke still in your lungs and light still burning in your hands, sure that whatever you just did ended something. Then you come back a week later and the city is still repeating its own nightmare like it never heard the word victory. That's when you finally understand what Riven's secret really is. It isn't a spell, it isn't a hidden weapon, it isn't even the curse itself. It's the shape of the trap. A wish doesn't just grant, a wish binds, and the Dreaming City is proof that you can bind reality so tightly it stops behaving like a timeline and starts behaving like a mechanism, one that resets, repeats, and keeps everything inside it moving along the same grooves. You walk the same paths again, stone bridges, shimmering air, that awoken beauty that feels like a smile stretched too wide, and the city keeps whispering the same answer through the repetition. This was never meant to be solved by force. It was meant to be solved by conditions. That's what makes wish magic different from every other kind of power in Destiny. Cabal power conquers. Hive power consumes. Vex power calculates. But wish magic doesn't need to overpower you. It only needs you to do the thing that completes the sentence. And once the sentence is complete, reality has to obey it. That's why Riven is so dangerous even dead. Because the dragon's body was never the point. The point was that a Hamkara power can take something as abstract as desire, fear, hope, desperation, and turn it into a rule the universe follows. So if you're looking for the secret that could imprison the witness, it isn't hidden behind a door in the Dreaming City. It's hidden in the one question the Dreaming City keeps forcing you to face. What does a prison actually require? Not walls, not chains. A prison requires a loop you can't step outside, and a reason you keep walking the loop even when it hurts. The witness is obsessed with an ending so final, it swallows meaning. It speaks with contempt because it believes the universe is supposed to resolve into one clean shape. No loose threads, no unfinished stories, no chaos left alive to contradict it. That belief is a weakness. Because a thing that worships a final shape can be baited by a shape that looks final. A cage doesn't have to look like a cage to work. The Dreaming City didn't look like a cage when you first arrived. It looked like salvation. It looked like a hidden paradise that survived the reef's collapse. It looked like a place you could protect. And that's why it hurt so much when you realized it was repeating. The trap didn't slam shut with metal bars. It closed with beauty. With almost fixed. With one more run. With the illusion that the next reset will be the one where it finally stays healed. That's Riven's secret. The strongest prisons aren't the ones you can't break. They're the ones you keep trying to solve. Now imagine building that kind of prison around something like the witness, not a cell you throw it into. A reality it steps into willingly because it believes the ending inside is the ending it's been hunting. A loop disguised as a victory. A rule disguised as fulfillment. That's the only version of Imprison the Witness that fits what the Dreaming City proves without turning into a fairy tale. You don't lock the witness away by force, you lock it by binding its own intention into a repeating structure it can't simply declare irrelevant. But here's the cost, and it's the reason this secret is never going to feel heroic. The Dreaming City's curse didn't only trap enemies, it trapped everyone. Awoken defenders, guardians, civilians in spirit, if not in body. Every act of courage inside the loop became part of the loop's fuel. Every attempt to fix it risked reinforcing the pattern, because the pattern feeds on action. So the secret isn't just wish magic can cage gods. The secret is the warning written underneath it. If you build a prison strong enough to hold the witness, you might be building a prison that holds you too. And that's why Riven's story is so poisonous and so important at the same time, because it forces you to confront a kind of victory destiny almost never gives cleanly. A victory where you win by choosing a rule that hurts you as much as it hurts the enemy. A victory where the world survives by accepting a scar that never fully fades. In the end, you leave the Dreaming City with the truth sitting heavy in your chest. Riven didn't leave behind a secret weapon. Riven left behind a blueprint. Proof that reality can be bound into repetition by a wish. Proof that cages can be built out of intent. And proof that the most dangerous locks are the ones that look like answers. And if that blueprint ever gets aimed at the witness, the question won't be whether it can work. The question will be who is willing to pay what it costs to make the loop hold.